Okay, welcome to the basic map guide for the desert map El Halluf. We're going to talk you through it. So El Halluf's quite an interesting map. It's very open, which is obviously dangerous for anyone who's trying to stay away from RT. And it has two big conflict areas. The first one is where all the heavies are going to be. That's A, B, 1 and 2. We'll get to that in a moment. And the scouts and mediums are going to have a big clash, which is round about F7, G6 and 7 and H6. We'll get to that as well. But let's talk about your scouts, your light tanks, and where they're going to go. Interesting map for scouts. They can do all sorts of stuff. If you're scouting over on the east side of the map, you can zoom all the way up to the top of the ridge, round about G9, and really what you're trying to do is spot across the gap to see where they're coming. You can also dash down the hill and find your way to F7, or if you're feeling super brave, push on to G7. And in fact, for the east team, that's the killer place for their scouts to go. If you can get one of your scouts down there, you're going to cause all sorts of trouble. I also seen scouts go to C4. There's a rock down there, highly dangerous, and I've seen crazy scouts go across the entire map if they're fast enough, and they're really looking to get to places like F4 or push all the way up to G4. I mean, man, if you've got the cover, that's great. From the other side of the map, the west side, what do you know? They're trying to counter that. So I've also seen scouts blister their way over to D4, which is that rock I talked about. You also see them dash all the way down to do some close quarter combat round about G6 and 7 as well. I've also seen suicide scouts go straight across the map trying to get to D6. What they don't have is the equivalent of looking over the map that you saw over at G9. So scouts, you got to get there quick, do your spotting. Heavies, well, you're trundling all the way up to A12, B12. There's going to be a huge heavy fight there. A couple of places to call out. There's a rock in A1. That rock on that corner is going to be pivotal. The team that figures out how to get around that rock and cause trouble is pretty much going to win. There's also a gap round about B2. There's a lot of trading of blows and trying to figure out where to go there. You also see support fire on C1, and you also find it on A3, and they're really giving support fire to that rock I talked about at A1. Oddly enough, that's where you're going to find your TDs. TDs are at C1, they're also at A3. You'll also see TDs guarding the middle of the map, so you'll find them on the west coast, and they're at H4, they're at G3. You sometimes see them at J5. Over on the east side of the map, you'll see a lot of TDs at D7. You also might see some brave ones trundling all the way up to G9 to do some covering fire, but lots of them are over in the heavy fight. As for your mediums, well, they're doing close quarter combat down at the bottom of the map. That's that G6 and 7 bit I told you about. They're also helping out with a big heavy fight, and in mid-game they're crossing the map entirely to see what they're doing. At the beginning, you will see some mediums, if they're on the east side, hammering along, trying to get to B3, where they can poke around. And on the west side, you'll see them zoom across. Sometimes they'll go wide, and they'll go on to E2, leading to D2, getting to C2, where they're trying to do the same thing. If you've got artillery, you've got a couple of places to go. If you're on the west side of the map, you usually find RT around about K4, K5, where they do some good cross shots. I've seen them right in the corner of J3, where they can do some trouble. G1's not bad. If you're on the east side of the map, you usually find them at A0, sometimes B0. I have seen them as far down as F0, and a friend of mine swears about D9, but I've never seen any good come of it. So there you go, it's El Halluf. It's a desert map. It's kind of awesome. We'll see you on the dusty battlefield.